there are things happening that are going to affect our financial freedom and our overall freedom. And in this video, that's what we're going to be talking about.
I invested £25,000. Today, that investment is worth £5 million.
Say hello to our hero, the Hydrogen Energy Release Optimizer. Limitless power, zero emissions.
Take the first step towards online privacy. Get NordVPN.
Hi everybody, this is Crypto Rich, working with you to get rich with crypto, filling our pockets with crypto profits. I'm joined by Efrat Fenigson. We're going to be talking about something that most people don't know about. It's going on, but this is an event that's in the background that people don't know about. Now, before I introduce her, please subscribe, follow me on Twitter, CryptoRichYT, join my official Telegram announcements channel, and see up here, bit.ly/CryptoRichOdyssey. I don't know if this video is going to go out on YouTube because there might be some stuff that's too spicy, which is why I post on bit.ly/CryptoRichOdyssey and also bit.ly/CryptoRichSpeak. So that's on ThreeSpeak, and that is completely decentralized and censorship resistant. So I really would prefer to people follow me on my ThreeSpeak channel, bit.ly/CryptoRichSpeak. Okay, hi Efrat, thank you so much for making yourself available.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. And I reached out to you because you posted something about Maui. And if people want to know about what's happening in Maui, you should definitely follow Efrat. But we're not going to be talking about that. First, do you want to say where people can find you and your work? And apparently you're going to be in the Netherlands talking about something.
Correct. So, yeah, they can follow me on Twitter, Efrat Fenigson, that's my name. And Substack, I write there. In a few days, there'll be a new article about Maui there, if you want to read what Rich was referring to. And you can follow me anywhere else. I mean, I'm on Instagram and all the other shit places. But I hope not to be there for a long time. I do have a Telegram channel as well, so you can join that. And I'm going to be speaking in Amsterdam on October 12th at the Bitcoin conference. Mostly about CBDC and the threat that it poses to the world today.
Great. Okay, and I'll have all the links in the description below. Okay, now we are going to be talking about CBDCs, but not in this video. What we're going to be talking about is an event that happened a couple of months ago. And just so people know, we're recording this on Monday, the 4th of September, and this video is going to go out a few days later. So by the way, that article on will probably already be out by the time this video goes out, but people can find out by following you on Substack. So you said to me there was a globalist event.
Yeah.
In Paris a couple of months ago. Now, first off, who are these globalists?
Well, globalists come in many shapes and forms. We probably know them from the World Economic Forum, from the UN, the World Health Organization, but also the financial institutions that are global, like the World Central Bank or the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, and obviously the BIS, the Bank of International Settlements, which is the central bank of central banks, if you wish. It would be like the big brother of money around the world. And this event that happened in Paris in June 2023 was called the Summit for a New Global Financing Pact. And participated in this glorious event were the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres and U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen and the IMF Director General Christina Georgieva and the World Bank President and many and heads of states, so prime ministers of different states, etc. So it was a very high-level, high-caliber event. And most people are not aware of it. They came there, they're supposed to come there to talk about money or economy and the financial situation of the world and how we solve it. This is what you'd expect them to talk about. But really, it seems like they were so concerned during this event with the international centralization of power and the formation of a global consortium to fix the problems that they claim sovereign nations cannot or will not fix. And those problems are mostly about climate change.
Right.
And so you have a grand summit with all the finance experts of the world and leaders of the world who make decisions about money and economics. And here they are speaking about climate change. So that's the first question mark that, a sane person would ask itself. Why would all those people be so obsessed with climate and not money? And so it seems like this is the biggest problem on their table at the moment. The goal, like the explicit goal of this event, was to find financial solutions to the goals of tackling poverty while simultaneously curbing planet heating emissions. That's the goal of the event. And the central banks and international banks are now suddenly more concerned with carbon taxation and global warming that they seem to be concerned with stagflation and economic collapse. And
Okay.
that's quite concerning.
Well, it's not.
Well, of course it's not, because it's part of their plan, and it has been part of their plan all along. The beauty of it is that it's now coming to light. Like, they're not even hiding it anymore. They're not trying to hide it anymore.
Here's why it's not concerning, right? You can't have stagflation and economic growth if there's no planet, if it's been burnt to a parch, if people are breathing out carbon dioxide, right? And then if you have too many trees and too many farms, because farms are really, really bad for the environment, and the whole notion animals, right? I mean, of course, the war in Ukraine, nobody talks about the environmental damage of that, right? That's not a problem. And France may instigate another war in West Africa. There's no climate damage there. It's only from how ordinary people, you and I, drive in our cars, not the elite with their private jets. That doesn't damage the climate. But also, Efrat, you may have learned in school, like I did, that carbon dioxide plus warmth plus daylight plus water is plant food. It gives us photosynthesis.
It's life.
Yeah, it's life, right? But no, the science has changed. Carbon dioxide is no longer.
It has changed, and it is settled now.
Yeah, it is settled. It was unsettled before, right?
It was unsettled. Now it is settled.
Yes.
Do you know the amazing interview by the head of global communications of the UN, Melissa Fleming? She's being interviewed at the World Economic Forum by someone, and she's laughing, telling the guy that is interviewing her that when they went on Google and searched climate change, they were shocked to see the results, because all the results they got were so thwarted that they had to crack a partnership with Google and fix it, right? And now if you go into Google and hit climate change, you see the right result, you see the truth. And then she says the following sentence, and I quote, "We own the science."
Yes.
And we need the world to know it. Yes. She says that. So
that's
the world we're living in.
She and Dr. Fauci did a deal so they could.
Yeah, they own the science. This is it. It's the UN's. It's theirs.
Yeah. Now, okay. So why are they marrying climate change?
Great question.
With this financial planning.
Okay, so here's my theory, my thesis, and I've come to it after hundreds of hours of research and listening to very smart people like Catherine Austin Fitts and Edward Dowd, and people who come from within the monetary system, the old school monetary system, the Wall Street, and the government itself. Well, I think COVID was just the beginning of the financial collapse that they wanted to bring about, and they had to have a really good excuse for the financial collapse. Now, obviously, it's very hard for them to say we're collapsing the economy and we need this reset of the economy because fiat currency is shit and it's not working and it's a Ponzi scheme and it's inflating and the bubble is bursting. They can't say that, so they have to blame it on something, and that something has to be a big crisis. Now, the crisis is COVID was the beginning of it, and then it continued on to the Russia-Ukraine war. And it continued on to climate. Now, if you take a look at the Russia-Ukraine war is a parallel crisis. The COVID is directly related to climate. Because if you look at a consortium called C40, which is a consortium of smart cities, right? That exists from, I think, around 2009. It's not a new consortium, but around 2019, they started talking about building cities in a sustainable green way. And then miraculously, synchronously, when COVID happened, they changed their slogan to Build Back Better, which is the slogan that all the globalists were saying at the same time of COVID. And they were saying, now that we have this crisis, this is our opportunity and the excuse we have to build the economy and our cities and states back again in a better, greener, more self-sufficient, sustainable way, so that the cities and the places we live in, the urban areas mostly that we live in, will be suited for the new world that we now have come to know from COVID. It's a world where we need to have surveillance, because we need to know if there is a crime happening or a pandemic all of a sudden, bursting, or there's a natural disaster, and we need to know everything. So we need to be connected. We need to have Internet of Things. We need to have the fourth industrial revolution, where everything is connected to the internet, and our cities as well. Now, C40 is you can go to the website and check and see that they're explicitly saying we are using COVID as an excuse to now bring about the fight in the climate change or the fight in the climate crisis, and we are going into the climate crisis era more prepared. And so COVID and climate are directly correlated. Okay, one is leading to the next, and then climate is the perfect excuse to bring about CBDC, which we'll talk about later, which is the central bank digital currency, because climate is now asking us, the globalists, or the people who, the power that be, to start measuring and monitoring every carbon dioxide emission that we the people make. They're less concerned about the corporations and the polluting, big cities around the world. They're more concerned about you and me, the small peasant, who is now fully responsible and directly responsible for the emissions that are being released to the atmosphere. And so we need to be taxed, and we need to be measured and controlled and monitored and surveilled, just like during COVID, but now for a different reason. And when we are being monitored in that way, what better way is there to control what we do and what we don't do, but through a digital coin that will then be centralized and governed by the powers that be, that will be able to tell us whether it's okay or not okay, what we're doing, what we're purchasing, where we're going, etc. So it's all connecting in the end, right?
It is all connecting. And just to make it clear, so one, the carbon dioxide doesn't cause the earth to warm or to cold. And I ask people in my personal life, say, how much do you think carbon dioxide makes up the atmosphere? How much in the atmosphere? Oh, 20%. Oh, 40%. Really? Not 0.4%.
0.4, right?
Yeah, which is apparently more powerful than the sun. That's 0.4, more powerful than the Milankovitch cycles, the magnetosphere, the magnetic poles, cosmic radiation, the outer planets, the moon, tectonic plates, the ICTZ, more powerful than all of that put together, 0.04%. And in our little cars. And just what you were saying about C40 cities, I'm gonna interrupt for an ad, Efrat, and I think this may also apply to where you are in Israel. So I am involved. I've done lots of videos about the ULEZ and the LTN schemes, ultra low emissions, and the low traffic networks that are being rolled out in the UK. And this certainly applies in British law. British law, the International Terrorism Act defines what genocide is. Sorry, the International Criminal Court Act defines what genocide is, and the International Terrorism Act, both of them together, they say you cannot fund agencies or support agencies that support genocide. You cannot fund genocide in any way. It's illegal for you to provide money for that, and it's also illegal for you to be asked for that money. Now, this is where all countries have ratified the International Criminal Court, which is all countries, I think, apart from Russia, China, North Korea, and the United States. There may be one or two others, right? But otherwise, it's part of statute law in all those other nations. The act defines what genocide is. So it's the killing of one or more people who are united by race, ethnicity, religion, or nationality as part of a widespread policy. So the Ukraine war is genocide, according to the UK government's own legislation. Here's what's really great. the UK government is not excluded from its provisions. Therefore, it's illegal to pay tax. It's a criminal offence to pay tax. And I recorded a video with an anti-war campaigner about this, and I'll link to it in the description below. People go and watch that. There's all the trust documents, how you can set up, what to let the tax authorities know. But it's not just tax. Any money that goes towards the government, including LTN and ULEZ charges. So I'm like, I don't want to give them my money so they can build these open air ghettos for us and a digital prison. No, besides, they're going to print it anyway, right? I need as much as I can get with the rampaging inflation. So I would invite people to go check out that video. And for anybody where you're watching this, go and see what you can do to resist this. And tax revolt is a peaceful, legitimate, viable, effective way of letting the governments know, no, you're our representatives, you're not getting our money. You're not getting our money to imprison us. So I just want to say that.
No, this is amazing. I mean, but when you're saying I'm not participating, how are you realistically doing it? Are you really not paying?
Yeah, well, in the video, the guy explains he hasn't paid the local government tax for since 2016. Every year they send him a new claim. Every year he sends them the trust document. Here's the money, provided you can give me incontrovertible proof that I'm not breaking the law, and that you're not breaking the law by asking me for it. And he references the particular statutes and everything. And then every year they wipe his tax to a zero. And then the new financial year they ask him again, and he does the same thing. Here it is in a trust.
Wow!
And he says it works. He says that they can't get past it because trust is what the rich use to avoid paying tax. So he says, very simple process to set up your own trust fund, to set up your own trusts, and here's how you do it, and they can't get past it. And I mean, we got to do anything and everything, right?
We're gonna try.
We absolutely got to try it.
And why not try this?
Yes. So I'll have that link in the description below. People can go check out that video. I'm going to have him on my channel again and again and again.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of ULEZ and in the UK, I wrote about that as well in my Substack. So there's a big article about the climate restrictions, including all the different cities in the UK that are implementing those restrictions.
Yeah.
Thanks to the smart city and the the surveillance.
Yep. And there are many people who think that climate change is real because, I mean, I have in the past voted green. I apologize. I'm not going to do that again. We have solar panels. I drive a secondhand Prius. And my preferred.
But you got to be careful about that because that's where they want us confused. It's okay to care about the environment and the climate, and it's a different thing to use it nefariously.
Yes. No, pollution, habitat destruction, poverty are real.
Exactly.
They're not interested. It's not carbon dioxide. They're concerned. The financial bigwigs are concerned about Bitcoin's emissions, which are negligible. They have no concern about how the US government prints money to mine metals and make armaments to ship across the world to drop on people.
Yeah, they're putting the focus conveniently where they want to put it.
Yeah.
So that you won't know and think about all the other things that are important. Instead, at least that's what I'm feeling. I see all day, every day, articles today in the mainstream media about cryptocurrencies, about fraud, about cash being abolished. Like they're in a full-on campaign right now, propaganda campaign to create a lack of trust in the public in any form of financial payment method that is not the government's.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the campaign.
So let's take it back to this globalist event.
Yes. So the globalists, they're now combining the climate change issue with international finance and monetary authority. In other words, they aren't even hiding the fact that the climate change agenda is part of the Great Reset agenda anymore. And by the way, I want to reference to an amazing article by Brandon Smith on a website called altmarket.us. This is where I was first aware of this event and everything that happened. He gave a great analysis of what happened there and the different quotes from the different leaders. And so go read it. We'll put a link for it because it's a really great article. They are even suggesting that the threat of climate change be used as a springboard for giving global banks more power to dictate the circulation of wealth and for deconstructing the existing system so it can be replaced with something else.
Mm.
Like they're saying it at the event. And as I said, Macron is saying the world needs a public finance shock. The prime minister of the president of France is actively saying we need to shock the financial system. They're inviting the next financial collapse to come in. They need it. And he says it is to fight global warming. He says current system was not well suited to address the world's challenges.
Now, there's something I want to go back. You said that the banks are setting this up, right? I
Yeah.
noticed you didn't say democratic governance systems are setting this up. Because the
Well,
people are demanding
because
it.
the democratic governments are the puppets. They're really not who is.
Well, they're not answerable to us. They're not. I mean, I don't know the state of politics in Israel and stuff, but
It's the same. It's the same in every
imagine the same.
Western country. Yeah.
But in Britain, we have the Conservatives in power. They're not implementing conservative policies. They're destroying small business. They're destroying religion. They're destroying faith. They're wide-scale immigration. Without illegal immigration, without any checks or anything, without any okay, we got jobs for you to come to and stuff, right? The trans agenda, everything. It's antithetical to traditional conservative values.
Yes.
And I imagine
The
it's
same thing is happening right now in Israel. We have a right-wing government in power. They're supposed to be more conservative and less liberal. It's the same. They're implementing the same agendas as you have in the UK, including climate, including all the money restrictions, including we're seeing now that they're sparking more and more hatred and war inside of Israel between the different groups, including refugees. They're doing it's a playbook. They're all following the same playbook. That's why I'm not saying the heads of states or the governments. I did mention Macron, but because he's there and he was speaking, and there were others that were speaking at the conference as well. But really, their puppet masters are the ones that are pulling the strings, the money. I call them the money, the lords of the money. They're the ones with the real power, and who knows who's operating them, right? But definitely the bankers and the ones at the heads of the BIS, the IMF, the World Bank, even the Central Bank of the EU, and etc. They're the ones calling the shots.
No,
And
why are they doing all this? Why do you think?
Because they want to replace fiat currency with a digital currency.
Okay, but why do they want to replace fiat currency? It served us really well.
It's served who really well. Yeah, the debt is great, right? Because country level debt is amazing, isn't it?
Well,
I mean,
so
the US have printed I think it was 86% of all the money that was ever printed was printed in the past 3 years in the US of dollars,
wow.
something like that. Yeah.
So
US number one in debt, and then Japan and others, they're going down. They're collapsing. And the BRICS are not giving them an easy time. The BRICS, the Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, group with 6 new countries that have joined recently in the last, I think, week or two after the BRICS summit. They have added another 6 countries, including Saudi Arabia, if I'm not mistaken, which is a big player in oil and gas around the world. So they're not giving them an easy time. The US is going about sanctioning anyone that doesn't do what it wants, what it wants them to do, and leaving countries like Russia outside of the SWIFT system so that they cannot internationally trade with other countries. What do they think they're going to do? Just sit there and die out? They have to continue playing the game. So they're saying that they're trading their own currency instead of the petrodollar, shaking the hegemony of the US. And the US is alarmed. And the bankers know that the dollar's position is at risk, and they need to do something to regain power, regain global power.
Or I would say, because there's been over 3,500 fiat currencies, every single one has gone to zero. Gold and silver have never gone to zero. Every single government issued currency has gone to zero because they just keep inflating away, printing away until the value becomes zero because they've so increased the supply. And then what happens is you have revolutions and governments get overturned. So
And then the same game all over
same
again.
game, right? So it's in their self-interest to get a new system in before this one collapses, and they better move fast. Now, I'm going to finish this up, right? One thing I want to, because we're going to go on and talk about CBDCs in a follow-up video, because you've followed developments with that. But one thing I do want to say is from my take on it, they are failing. They are failing. It's going to take time for it to collapse completely. But one of the ways that it's failing is there's so much growing awareness. There's so much growing awareness, so much growing
About money or in
about
general?
the whole Great Reset. Like the ULEZ isn't the. There's so many ULEZ cameras being destroyed. People refusing to pay the fines. It's just going to be. It's unworkable.
Yeah.
I was watching a short video on Odyssey today. People they weren't just taking off the cameras. They were chopping down the lampposts.
Yes. I
Which
saw
will
that.
cost
It's amazing.
it's going to cost even more to replace the lamppost and replace the camera, and it will just get chopped down again because once you buy one angle grinder, you can use it again and again at no extra charge. So it's
Yes.
just completely unworkable.
Well,
So
I'm with you. I really hope you're right, but I think you have to come and see the state of Israel and see how many people are still zombified and don't notice anything that's happening under their nose. And they will just go along with anything that the government or the city says. They don't even, I live in Tel Aviv, and they don't even realize how horrible it is to live inside a big city today here in Israel. I mean, they accept everything. Oh, they're taking our parking spots because they don't want us to have private cars anymore. Fine, you just have to handle it. You either move to one of those condos with your private car park, or you leave Tel Aviv and you go outside of the city to the suburbs. Like, they're making people's lives hell. And many people in Israel are not understanding it. They're not getting it. And I'm sure it's the same in many other countries. I think the more indoctrinated and, well educated to authority the country is, the harder it is for people to wake up and see the atrocities. And I think the fact that you guys in the UK had Brexit before, that already opened your eyes a bit about, trying to centralize you with a group of other countries that have no direct connection to your fate. The UK fate and other countries' fate doesn't have to be the same. And you guys got it then. So I think you do maybe have a better position to spot the other lies.
well,
I don't know about Israel. I'm crossing my
it will
fingers.
all come. Some countries will get free, like some places like Florida, right, will be freer than other places first. But then the places where there's repression will look at Florida and it's like, oh, why aren't we doing that, right?
Yeah.
It will come, and this is how I look at it, right? In a tsunami, because there's a wave of energy and awakening that's taking place. A
Yeah.
tsunami starts out hundreds of miles out
Yeah.
away
Yeah.
from the shore, and it's tiny. And then there are people on the beach and the buildings and the structure and stuff, and they don't see it coming. And then there are those that pick up the early warning signals. I don't know, like the elephants in Sri Lanka and other animals and stuff. And the wave keeps building and building and building, and the people on the beach keep doing what they're doing, and then at some point the wave is so powerful it washes over them. So the wave is building. The wave of energy is building, and it's building and building and building. And the Great Reset is so anti-life. It's just not going to last. Are you kidding? Are you
Yeah.
kidding? You think you're going to be able to? Was it the Nazis had the Warsaw Ghetto for a year or so or something? You think you can reduce all of Europe and North America, like the Western states, into little open-air ghettos?
Ghettos.
Are
Yeah.
you kidding?
Yeah. I'm with you. I wish I had your faith every day. I mean, some days I feel less hopeful, but I'm with you. I think you're right.
Yeah.
It's not
Well,
gonna
Efrat,
work.
this is why conversations like this are so important, and this is why it's so important for people to share this video and share Efrat's work and go follow her and spread the word everywhere, so that people can get educated and informed, just as I got educated and informed about what you were saying about Maui. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, there's a lot more in this, right? So
Mhm.
thank you. Anything you want to say before we finish up, and then we'll come back again and talk about the CBDCs and the exciting.
Um, No, I mean, I just want to say keep hope and faith. And also, this is what I always say. I think that one of the best solutions for us during this time to navigate this crazy time is to really go inside and do mental and spiritual work, because that's what keeps us really strong and rigid and ready for
Yep,
these tough times.
yep. Pray, connect, be good, do good.
Yep.
Efrat, thank you so much. If anybody's watching, comments, questions, all of that business, and bit.ly/cryptorich and Efrat's links in the description below, including the stuff on the tax report. And between now and when I see you next, please keep filling your pockets with joy and freedom. It's Crypto Rich and Crypto Efrat signing out. All the best. Bye bye.